Oh my God. Don't you know how unhealthy that is for you? You're not going to eat that, are you? Ew, how can you feed such chemical laden food to your children? How many times have you heard people say things like this? Because I've been seeing it a lot recently since the recent election, particularly online. I'm in these groups like food preservation groups and, different things that involve recipes, and I'm just really into it. So there was this post recently. Somebody had gotten a whole big bag of McDonald's hamburger buns for free, and she was really proud of herself because she had dehydrated them and turned them into croutons, breadcrumbs, different things that she was going to make and use for her family. And people kind of tore her apart in the comments about the ingredients. Don't you know the ingredients that are in those foods? Don't you know what's in those buns? Like, okay, first off, I don't think it is an effective means of persuasion to shame somebody about what they're doing, just to be clear. Second off, are you saying it that way because you truly care about the person, their health, their children, all of that? Or are you just saying it because you want to sound like a morally superior person? Because tell me this, even though we all know, what's healthy and what's not, do you eat 100% clean every second of your life? You tell me that the person making the comments to that woman has never in their life eaten a McDonald's hamburger, because I bet that is very few people. And the people that are eating 100% clean are probably very privileged and upper class people that have a lot of money and access to a lot of different groceries, or they live on a farm and they grow all their own food, and yay for them, because that's what probably most of us want. But it's not what's accessible. And with the rising cost of groceries, something that I am noticing is that ultra processed food is actually starting to get super expensive. And so it actually is starting to become more, at least as cost effective, to buy like healthier versions of some of the sort of quicker, easier to prepare meals that we have. But Whole Foods, definitely not the store Whole Foods, just like whole foods, like a carrot, a tomato, etc., do tend to be less expensive. But it really depends on where you are. If you're in a city, yeah, sure, you've got competition, you've got a bunch of different stores, you can kind of choose, and maybe you've got time to go from one place to another. But if you're in a food desert and all you have access to is a gas station, one fast food restaurant, and a really small grocery store that only has a certain amount of things, like, people are just doing the best they can. We're all just doing the best we can. And so I just do not advocate shaming people for the food choices that they're making. I think it is so wonderful that this conversation is coming into the collective. I do. These are things that I've known about food for the last 15, 20 years. And if you're like in the hippie granola crunchy community, these are not new things. And people are kind of like acting like they are new things. What's new is that we're having a collective conversation about it. But you know what? Can we have a conversation without being like assholes? Is that possible? Are we able to be compassionate, kind, and, actually wanting to contribute to the greater good for people, rather than just like snubbing up our noses and being like, well, I'm better than you because my political candidate was president and I love RFK? And listen, I love RFK too, but like, does that mean that I'm gonna go around acting like holier than thou online and making people feel like crap because they're proud of themselves because they were able to, save some food for their families? Like, goodness, people, I just don't understand this attitude that we have online, where we just think that we can treat other human beings like crap. And I'm not talking about one side or the other. I see it on both sides. I see it in so many different conversations, and it just boils down to the fact that, like, have we forgotten that we're all human beings and that we're all here for like pretty much the same purpose on this planet? Look, I think it's wonderful that we want to try to make food healthier and fast food healthier, but like, let's just be honest, replacing the hydrogenated vegetable oils that are in French fries at McDonald's with beef tallow is still not going to make that stuff healthy. I mean, hopefully it will help mitigate things, but I mean, and it's wonderful that they're focusing on like some preservatives and some things. Like, there's a lot of crap, but are they going to deal with all of the things? Is McDonald's suddenly going to start serving like 100% locally pasture raised meat burgers? And like, I don't see the business structure of these huge corporations changing that much. I mean, I think it'd be wonderful if we could be up in line with European standards and Canadian standards. Like, obviously these corporations know how to do it, but you know, as a libertarian, it's not really more legal restriction that I think is really the most effective means of shifting behavior, but things like encouraging the people and the companies and the businesses that do have healthier products to make it easier for those products to come to market. And so there are a number of things that would help that, which is like pulling back all of the subsidies that are happening for genetically modified crops, and diverting those subsidies into businesses that are running more sustainable agriculture, that are better for the environment, you know, not subsidizing businesses that are spraying tons of chemicals and pesticides and etc. Not bailing out corporations, not that they recently have, but in the past, you know, certainly has happened. And instead, just making it easier for higher quality competition to come into the market. Because if I have the choice between, you know, a hamburger from McDonald's and a hamburger from a local hamburger place, and they're both around the same price, if I know that I can go through a drive-through, I mean, how much is it per? I don't actually go to McDonald's very often, but I do sometimes go to Wendy's, and I know when I've gone to Wendy's recently, I think it's probably in the $12 to $15 range for a meal. That includes a drink, fries, and a burger. And I think if I get a burger, it's something in the neighborhood of $8. And so $15 for a meal, well, that's like any local restaurant. Like, not any local restaurant, but most local restaurants, you go in and you can get, you know, burritos, tacos, lots of local Mexican places. You can get meal for $15 or less. And so, I mean, I went to Panera Bread. I got a pick two with like this little thing of French onion soup and a little thing of mac and cheese and a drink, and it was $25. $25. And I realized at that point that I didn't need to be going to these big chain stores, because it's actually not the most cost effective. And so I was able to, you know, the next time I wanted to go out to lunch, which I actually after that decided that I'm like done. I used to go out to lunch once a week on Friday. I would treat myself to a lunch. And now I'm like, nope, I'm not spending that, because it's $100 a month on eating out for just me. And so I've been doing it much less, and instead maybe once a month I'll treat myself to lunch. And you know what, where I'm going now, local places, because you go to a local place, there's a local place here, I can go get like a grass-fed steak salad for less than $25, and it's supporting a local business, and it's healthier, and it tastes better. I mean, so yeah, but this whole food shaming thing is just lame. Okay, I have a lot of friends that are vegans. I'm not knocking vegans, but like, I think most of us have been around somebody who's been so annoying, because they're like, you know, all of a sudden making everybody else, they make a change in their diet, or they do a certain thing, and they're suddenly the people that are telling everybody about how disgusting the food that they're eating is. Like, oh, well, don't you know what they do in those factories, and don't you know about this, and don't you know about that? It's like, you know what, I just want to eat my hamburger and not worry about what y'all are telling me, you know. And so like, we don't want to be that to other people. We don't want to be the annoying people that are making people feel like crap about the choices that they're making. Like, some people are literally just surviving. Like, they go to work, they leave for work in the morning, their kids going off to school, they get home late, they just are exhausted, and all they can do is just make sure that their children are like not dead. Like, do you have food? Are you gonna, are your essential needs met? Like, okay, I'm gonna go pass out now, maybe I have time to take a shower, and then waking up the next morning going, shoot, I need to do laundry, I need to feed the dog, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that, how am I gonna afford to put gas in my car? I mean, there are some people that are just really just surviving, and so it is not helpful for us to make those people feel bad about the choices that they're making. It's our role to, like, sure, we can educate, sure, we can help have conversations and spread the words, but like, in what method are you doing that? Because it's just when you're speaking these things, are you speaking them for other people, or are you speaking them for yourself? Because, like, what's the point? What's the point of 50 people or 150 comments? I mean, that's like a lot of comments on this post this girl made about the hamburger buns. And it's like, and then somebody else, like, commented, like, the ingredients in the McDonald's hamburger buns. And I was reading the ingredients, and the ingredients in the McDonald's hamburger buns are just about the same as the ingredients in most other conventional bread that you're buying from the stores. So if you're eating Kroger brand bread, or Wonder Bread, or any other just kind of like regular bread from the store, you're still getting the vegetable oils, you're still getting the preservatives and the dough conditioners, you're still getting enriched flours that's heavily processed. And even I was actually kind of shocked when I looked at, like, the expensive organic bread, and I turned over and read the ingredients, and they still have the vegetable oil in it. Like, they're not, just because it says organic, it doesn't mean that it's free of all of the things that we want, that we don't want in our food. So, I just think, like, it's really important to be as healthy as possible, absolutely. But, like, if we're stressed and feeling really upset, that's just gonna make us less healthy. So maybe we could try being, like, a little more positive, a little more encouraging. Maybe we could put our energy towards, like, helping to get some of this crap out of our kids' school lunches, so that when our kids are going to school and eating school lunches, they're not coming home at a nutritional deficit, but they're actually coming home, like, being boosted. Like, one of the things that I've learned about eating unhealthy isn't just that the unhealthy food that we eat is bad for us, which it takes a toll on our body, and then our body has to kind of, like, recover to process a heavy dose of pesticides or chemicals or preservatives, or but then there's also, like, we're filling up on things like sugar and empty nutritional carbs or whatever, and it is an opportunity that we don't have to be packing our body with something that is nutritionally dense, that has the stuff that we need. So I try to eat really well. I do the best I can. And then sometimes I have little treats. I do like to have some cookies in the evening. And I do kind of make, like, the best choices possible when I can. But also, like, I'm not going to sit there and shame myself about it. I am, I have done some other videos about, like, kind of the process of how I quit smoking, and, like, the process of addiction, and kind of how I'm using that as, like, a method for reducing my sugar addiction, because I do see that I have a sugar addiction. But, like, that's the other thing. My energy can go towards my own process, my own energy, my own, I can take responsibility for myself and make the changes that I know that I need to make for myself. And I can leave other people alone. And if other people ask me for advice, yes, I'm making videos because I'm trying to share it, but I'm not shoving these videos in people's faces. If people want to watch it, they'll watch it, and it's here. But I'm not going onto people's posts and commenting, making them feel bad about themselves and shaming them because they decided to take the first steps to learning how to preserve some of their food. And also in some of these food preservation groups, you've got dehydrating and canning and all sorts of things. You've got people at all of these different levels. So there's the people that are the hardcore homesteaders, and they grow their own food and they preserve their own food and they live out of their pantry and they never go to the grocery store and all this. And that is so great for them. #life goals. I would love to have that life. And also you have people who are just beginning the journey, just learning how to do dehydrating and food preservation, and they're going to start with what they have, and so they're going to start where they're at. And so somebody taking the baby steps, I saw one person, they had gotten a big industrial sized can of nacho cheese and they had put it into smaller canning jars and water bath canned them and then put them on the thing, and people were making her feel really bad, oh, why would you eat that crap, blah blah blah, because we're all in it for different reasons, okay? And so just lay off. And this message is so probably gonna chop this up, edit a little bit. You're going to have 2 different videos from 2 different days mashed together, so pardon that incongruence. But I just think that these are important conversations to have, and I think that it would be really, really wonderful to subsidize the healthier food and to make the expensive food or the highly processed industrial food more expensive. But tips, also a little tip for people who are really financially struggling: don't neglect your food banks. We have out here in Colorado, we have something called the Food Rescue. And so you've got, in a lot of places there's these laws that say that if somebody gets food from a dumpster and they get sick, they can sue the store. Or if they get food from a food bank and they get sick, they can sue the store. And I don't know if it's all of Colorado or if it's just the county I'm in, but they actually have altered the laws to make it legal for these stores to donate their foods to the food banks. So we have Whole Foods, Sprouts, Costco, Sam's Club, all of these stores donate to the food banks. And then there's also this organization called the Boulder Food Rescue, and you can look it up online, Boulder, Colorado, Boulder Food Rescue. And it's a group of volunteers who go and they'll pick up produce and they'll pick up things that are being going to be expired or thrown away, and then they have a network for distributing it through the communities. There's a low-income apartment building. I do a cleaning in that community, and they have a network where they get the food rescue every day. They put it out, or not every day, once a week, or whenever they do, they put it out, and people know it's coming, and they come and they get the food. And I've been able to partake in some of that because I've been there at times where my client has said, hey, go get some food, and it's amazing what there is. But then we had another circumstance in which we had a power outage. Xcel Energy cut the power, and Whole Foods threw out the entire store. And that's the law, it's the protocol, because obviously if something, if the temperature goes below a certain point, you don't know if the food is safe to eat. But if there was systems in place, and if they had known about the network, they could have called the Food Rescue. The Food Rescue could have gone and picked that stuff up the second that the power went out, while it was still cold even, and still lots of frozen stuff. They could have picked it up, distributed it within that hour. So that, I think, is part of the movement, like some of the policy changes that could be done to help facilitate healthier food. Another policy change is, I watched this documentary that was talking about how when Monsanto was able to patent the genetically modified corn seed, then what happened was they made it somehow made it illegal for like small family farms to save their own seeds from they've had these heritage grains of, let's just say it's corn for generations and generations, and then what happens is the farm next door plants their Monsanto corn, and then the pollen blows in the wind, and then if like it kind of mixes or cross, so it can contaminate the organic seeds. But then also Monsanto was going in and actually arresting people who were saving their own seeds. So I would love to see the patent law change on the seeds. It is not ethical for one big corporation that does not have our best interest in mind to be able to shut down these generational family farms because they are greedy and want profits. Like, we need to be finding ways to make it easier for these products, these healthier products, to come to market, and not making it easier for the big corporations. So what needs to happen? Like, I know, our President-elect Trump is talking about tariffs for overseas. Well, what's like the corporate version of that? Like, could you heavily tax the things? I don't know. That would just disproportionately affect low-income people as well. So I'm not like proposing solutions. I'm just trying to have the conversations about them, because these are systemic issues and they're very multi-layered. There's so many layers to these things, because over the years, the corruption, the people get their their bribes, and they vote a certain way, and then on both sides, Republicans and Democrats have become corrupted and have passed a variety of laws in a variety of ways that have really contributed toward this. And we're starting to see now, 10, 15, 20 years later, the real effects that this is having. So, let me know your thoughts.